In our first reading today, Isaiah has this very interesting line where he says, "Learn to do good." It is striking because doing good must be learned, must be taught. And sometimes there's confusion in our culture, in our schools, in our families. Sometimes there's broken homes, or sometimes just confusion within the family. And at times there's confusion within our very selves because of our fallenness. Therefore, there's all kinds of factors that kind of affect us on how we pursue becoming good or becoming the saints we're called to be. But we believe as Catholics on the very basic level, obviously the law of God's written on every human heart, so no one kind of gets away with the kind of evil actions that they do. They're always kind of culpable to some extent. But then the second aspect is the reality of a philosophical principle called synderesis. The reality that every human person has this kind of tendency to move toward goodness, and that's kind of what brings us to Christ to some degree. There's this desire to be good and to repent from any sins or wickedness that we have accomplished or have done. But to understand this on a deeper level, in every moral act, there are three things that kind of take place. There's the intention, what you intend to do. Then there's the object or the concrete action that you do within the real world. Then there is, of course, the circumstances. And in moral theology, we talk about how all three have to be good. And this is really important because it gives us a healthy vision of our free will, especially when it comes to circumstances. For in principle, we won't wind up in some circumstance which makes it difficult to choose what is the right thing to do, or to be faithful to our spouse or vocation in general. And therefore, if we do wind up in a difficult circumstance, sometimes it is our fault because of our own failure to think through our actions or how we're going to go about living our lives. And of course, sometimes it's not our fault at all when it comes to circumstances. But all in all, circumstances are the least thing that kind of concerns us. But most important is the intention and the object that we choose. But in one sense, to learn to do good begins with the virtue of prudence, and this ability first to think about what is right, to contemplate the law of God and all of its goodness. Before speech, before intention, before even movement, there's this contemplation about what is good, what's the right thing to do. And then prudence is this thing that's always linked to the command of our will. It is always mingled with action, on contemplating how I'm going to pursue the good action that I have in my heart or in my mind. And this is what forms our character, how we pursue what is good. And this is why when you do good habitually within the community, people will often vouch for your goodness because you've become good. Not like an angel, purely in a spiritual manner, but through the toil of seeking to conquer evil by doing good in your life, as St. Paul teaches firmly. But in essence, to perform a good act, whether in thought, word, or deed, the goal has to be good. The way we choose to reach that goal has to be good, and it must be done. And to keep us from freezing, one author puts it this way: in our pursuit, don't let perfect get in the way of doing good. So go about doing good.